Well, well, well. You managed to get me out of my doldrums and get me back on the live stream, Molina Mike. Thank you.
You might want to reintroduce yourself, my man, because I'm not sure
Come
if
on,
people
man.
out here know who you are. We ain't seen you in a minute, and yeah, thank you. Don't thank me. Thank everybody who sent you a message because
You know
they're
what? I got a
they're
lot
the
of
real heroes.
messages. I'm sitting here this morning, birthday party for the kids. They're at the my youngest friend. The parents rented out a whole movie theater. So we're all just sitting in there watching a movie. My phone's like, brr, 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 and I'm looking and I got a message here from TJ Seabolt. Started it off. He's like, hey, get back on with Melina Mike. Then we got Mike Holm, Jay Lee, June Marie, Tim
Nice,
Levine, Rhonda Royal, Monique
nice.
Greer, fellow geographer. They're all just popping in saying, you need to get back online.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do. I mean,
And
I'm running out of ideas over here.
I said, that son of a gun, Melina Mike. I bet you he posted something telling people to message me.
Yeah, I did. We had to get voices of the people out there to go and give you a little nudge. But we're glad you made it back, buddy. Glad to have you back on here. We missed you, man.
Hey, let me tell you, I wasn't around. I was busy. I was doing a lot of stuff for the World Championship, but I followed what you and Pinoza were doing, and it was top notch, my man. And a lot of people had messaged, a lot of people had said stuff, and you guys were interviewing Shane like every day. Nick De Leon's in the chat right now. Obviously, he helped out a lot getting the technology set up so Shane could just walk up and do the interview. And man, what an event that was, and what coverage you guys gave to us. So that was awesome, man.
Yeah, Nick was really the MVP of those couple days. He played well on top of that, but from our side of it, and really it's because we both kind of dogged it and we should have been out there, but Nick stepped up and helped us out quite a bit. So we're very much appreciative, and I know a lot of people at home were as well because it was pretty cool, man. I mean, Shane's tough to go and get on there. Like you have to kind of make it as easy as you can for him. Just so that way, like everything is just smooth and efficient, because he's a busy guy, just won a world championship, and
Are you calling
was
him a
it?
diva?
Nah,
I think you're
well, I mean,
calling him a diva.
maybe a little diva. He's got a little diva, but you know what? He's got the resume, and to go and that it's fine. I get it. So,
Let's face
but
it, biggest name in pool. I mean, biggest name in
yeah,
pool. And so I remember when we interviewed him out in Vegas, I was nervous. I don't get nervous with a lot of these interviews anymore, but I'm like, man, I'm a little nervous. Shane Van Boening. What if he gives us one word answers, like a Tiger Woods interview? But he was great, great, opened up. He was
I
awesome.
had
And you guys did a great job pulling stuff out of him too.
I had a lot of people that went and messaged me and talked to me when we were out there in Vegas, saying that was the most they had seen Shane open up, was that interview that we did. So it was pretty cool, man, and I always enjoy it. Shane's great. You just got to make people feel comfortable. I think that's the main thing, and we try to make it as easy as we can for whoever we have on. But we didn't have you. The show must go on. Pinoz was always awesome and a great sport, and me and him vibe real well. So it worked out, and we got a bunch of other guests lined up. So just off the top of my head, Emily Frazier of Matchroom should be coming on this week. We may have Alan Hopkins premiering or like previewing the Super Billiards Expo, which we're going to talk about a little bit today as well. I'm going to try to get Oscar on too. It's tough to get that guy on good Wi-Fi, but we're going to try to get him on. And then Chris Reinhold, we'll try to talk to him as well. And I'm sure and that's just like before I'm, hitting the road,
Yeah.
guys that we got lined up. So whenever I get out there to the expo, there's going to be a ton more. So we'll see.
So I want to talk a little bit about that, Mike. The other day, you and I chatted, and I can't make the expo. I got a bunch of stuff going on, but uh, you were like, "I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence," and I'm like, "Man, what is it? What is it going to take to get you out there?" And you found some good flights, considering how expensive flights are right now.
Mm.
Had some people help you out, got you some equipment, so you're going to be out there with some interview equipment, which is I'm really excited about. I don't know about your tech skills, but I'm sure somebody out of those like thousands of people that'll be there might be able to help you out. But one of the things that was really awesome is I was out of town. I was in Virginia, and I get a call from Colby and Reed at Salado, and they were like, "I heard you're playing with a team in the Deadwood tournament out in Deadwood, South Dakota," and that's something that me and a few buddies of mine we kind of put together a few months ago, and we're like, "Hey, let's go out and play in this tournament for old time's sake. So it's me and Chris McDaniel, Chisholm Woodson, and Scott Tollefson, and all former Colorado people at one time or another. And Chris is already sponsored by Salado, and the boys from Salado, Colby and Reed, called me up. I think they FaceTimed me, but anyway, they're like, "Hey, you already got, I know we're tight and everything, and Chris is on the Salado team. Why didn't Salado just sponsor you guys for the tournament and take care of your entry fee?" And I was like, "Man, that's crazy." So, entry fees like 360. We were very appreciative. All of a sudden, I get a PayPal for 460, and I'm like, "Guys, I think you got it wrong." And they're like, "No, we're gonna give some money to Molina Mike too to help him get out and support him at the Super Billiards Expo." And so that's why their logo's up here, man. These guys are really doing it right for the sport. They're just exactly the type of people that I like to rub elbows with. They really care about the game, and they're a big part of you getting out there to New Jersey, or is it Jersey or Pennsylvania this year? I don't know. Oh,
Outside of Philly.
Pennsylvania, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
outside of Philly. Yeah, oh, yeah, they really were. Me and Colby, we talk all the time, and he's just fantastic. But it kind of makes it really weird for me at times because I'm friends with a lot of people, but then like in my core, I hate asking for help. It's just part of me. And we were talking one day, and he was like, "Hey, I need you to go and help me out with something when you're out there." And I said, "Well, hold on, boys, because I don't know if I'm gonna go or not." In all honesty, full disclosure here, I was really looking for a reason not to go. And the way that it was going on was that the more that each day passed, the higher the flights were getting. So I was like, great. And there's some other news coming up, and I really can't talk about it a whole lot, but I will say that I'm excited for it. And it's something that I was, I got a message saying, "Hey, you should be out there." And it was kind of like the afternoon right before I finally decided to go. And kind of a big deal, kind of nervous about it, but I'm looking forward to it. And anyway, long story short, and kind of pushed me over the edge to say, "Yeah, we're gonna go." And when I was talking with Colby about it, he was like, "Hey, man, we'll help you out." And it was unsolicited, and just that's the kind of people they are. But that's not why they're my friends. I mean, they're my I love those guys. They are just two of the most rock solid people that I know in the industry. And really, if ever I get discouraged about something, whether it's professionally or personally, there's some guys that I can always just lean on to help like lift my spirits. And
Yeah, I
I'm
was just
super
telling my
grateful.
wife, like, we got to go up to Wyoming and see those guys. They're just, and I'm wearing their shirt right now. They make some of the most comfortable T-shirts in the industry. So if you ever get a chance to win or get a Salado shirt, it's super comfortable. But
Yeah.
let's talk about that Super Billiards Expo, Mike. I'm really excited about that. Have you ever been before?
I went a couple of years ago, and actually that was my first like big trip that I took when I was starting to do all this stuff because um, I knew that was the place to be, not just from vendor standpoint, meeting queue makers, which is something that I work with a lot of queue makers and do a lot of business with them, um, and but also from the pro side of things. That was actually the place where I met my boy Oscar, for
Mm.
the first time as well. I met Pat Davini out there. Me and him are fast friends, and just met so many contacts out there at the time. Didn't realize it. Steve Dunkel, just a bunch of people, man, and it really just left an impression on me, even all these years later.
Yeah, I met Oscar out there for the first time too in the men's bathroom. It's a little awkward story, but yeah, it was crazy. He had just got done playing a match, and I was in there just washing my hands, and he comes and washes his hands next to me, and remember being struck. This was a long
Did
time ago.
you try to dap them up?
No, 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 no,
No.
no. We didn't do any handshakes or nothing. But
Okay.
just like what a humble, awesome guy he was. He was so grateful and thankful that I watched his match, and said he was a great shooter. And I was like, man, what a dude this guy is. And so I'm just glad to have become even better friends with him over the years. But my buddy Rick Glasscock is in the chat right now. He's giving me a hard time because the Keith McCready video is not out yet. Easter Sunday, which is tomorrow, that video
He's
will
on queue
drop.
makers time. I know. I know. I try to get
Yeah,
him. Oh yeah, I'll be on tomorrow, Mike. I'll be on tomorrow. We can do a show
the
tomorrow.
Keith McCready interview is, I guess I got about an hour left of it, Rick. Hour more editing, and that thing will drop, and I'm really excited about that. So,
I got a
Mike,
funny
some
story,
of
real quick, Joey, real
yeah,
quick,
yeah.
because just before we move on from Oscar, so when I went over there, I went with a buddy of mine, Daniel Morrow, and we were putting in we were putting in Raymond Ferron, who's a great Filipino player, won the All Japan years ago. And anyway, Daniel's like, "Hey, he needs to get staked to get in the event." And I was like, I don't know how much I like his chances, man. And so Daniel's good friends with Roy of Roy's Basement, and he said, no, yeah, I like Raymond's chances of getting in. Anyway, that evening or a few days into it, him and Oscar were gonna go and gamble, and Daniel's like, "Hey, we're gonna put him in the box. They're gonna go and spar some." And I said, "Man, I ain't betting against Oscar. I know how Oscar is. I'm not betting against him. Like I had already put him in the tournament. That was fine, even though I didn't necessarily like my chances." Long story short, Oscar robbed him, but Raymond did well in the event. So I ended up dodging one bullet and then cashing in on the other, and that was
That's
that was
funny.
part of my expo experience. So
Yeah. Well, hey, Mike, I want to let people know for the first time today, I was messing around on my flight the other night and I just created a Twitter account for you and I for this particular show. So obviously, we stream this show to Windows Open, to Pool Player
yes, sir.
Podcast Facebook. We stream it to Pool Player Podcast YouTube. But I'm on Twitter a lot, man. It's like a quick way to digest information here and there. And probably going to get better if Elon Musk takes over. I don't know, but
Oh my god.
but in reality, I said, hey, we have the ability to stream to Twitter as well. So I'm actually going to share my screen right now. This is it. It's at Dogging It Show on Twitter. It's on there right now. Right now we have a grand total of 3 followers, and we're going to be posting some stuff up there. Mike just found out about this tonight, but that's how I like to
By
keep him in
tonight,
the
he means
dark. Like
about
he's a
90 seconds
mushroom. He
ago.
sits in the dark, and that's the way we like to keep him. So
Yeah, by tonight he means about 90 seconds ago. So I literally just found out about this. It was all news to me, and it's another platform. And this is what happens. Joey creates all these great things, right? You see all these things going on here on this screen. That's all the work of Red over here. But then what ends up happening is that I end up having to go and take over everything and go and keep the ship afloat. So I'm sure now I'll be starting to do some tweeting here sooner than later. So thanks,
I
buddy.
didn't tell you that was your new as the social media manager of this operation.
Right,
That's your new
my new
assignment.
role. Yeah, but
Hey,
I
but
can
in
tell
all
you. I'm excited to go to the expo, and it's going to be a fantastic trip. It's very last minute for me, and I hate traveling last minute, but we're going to try to just knock it out of the park.
Hey,
So,
in reality, this Twitter account will be great for you to update things during the event, 160 some characters or whatever.
oh
So
yeah,
you can kind of keep your thoughts in order. And then when you do your larger write ups later, you can go back and look through your tweets and kind of help guide you.
yeah,
So that's what
I
I'm
like
hoping
that.
kind of comes out of it. See, I'm creating all this new work for you, man.
Yeah,
In reality, I want to talk about the Super Billiards Expo, Mike, because when I found out that you were going, I remember it's there's so much nostalgia around this event for me. When I first became a decent player, that was the thing you did on the East Coast. Everybody would go to that event. You'd play in that event in the open amateur. You'd go and watch the pros play in the event. You'd go to all the booths. There was nothing else like it on the East Coast, and it really rivals kind of what we saw out in Vegas with the vendors. In fact, there might even be
right.
more of an exhibition scene out there. So if you're anywhere on the East Coast and you're looking to pick up some gear or just be immersed in pool for 4 or 5 days, I highly recommend you go to this event. You're going to see tons of great players. And Mike, I don't know how it is now, but when I first started going, the action was unreal. You had tables lined up 10 $20 a game. Winner stays on. You keep playing. Young guys like John Moore at the time was like 17, and Shane Winters, guys like that, they'd be playing on these tables. They'd make 3, 4, 500 a day just playing these challenge matches. And then all of a sudden some barking would break out. You'd have Alex, you'd have Keith McCready, all these big names getting into action in the pits down there at when it was at Valley Forge. So it's just a great event. I hope people check it out. I wish I could be there this year. I can't, but you're my eyes and ears on the scene, and you're going to be that for a lot of people. So thanks for
I'm
taking one for the
Yeah,
team
man.
there.
I'm pumped, and I remember when I went a few years back, they didn't have any 9 foot on the action side. They were all on the pro side, so that was something that I was kind of disappointed with it, um, to be honest. But I remember seeing on the bar table there was a lot of great action the entire time, and late nights. I mean, up to like 4 or 5 in the morning with
Yep.
action before I finally was tapping out. And I'm a little bit too old for all that these days. But if something does get brewing, best believe I'll be out there, and I'll try to do something. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do. To be honest, we never really have a plan going into any of this. Luckily, we've gotten support. I messaged Alan Hopkins, and he was like, "Whatever you need, we'll hook you up with it." So from the pro side of it to the amateur side to
He's heard of
vendors,
Molina, Mike.
He was real excited, man. Yeah, yeah, buddy.
That's
Like
awesome.
surprisingly, I was shocked too. I was like, "Excuse me, sir."
Mr.
But,
Hopkins?
yeah. No, and then 2 buddies of mine who of course, Pat Devini's gonna be out there, who's a real good friend of mine, like I mentioned before. But when Joey was calling me a few minutes ago, I was on the phone with my buddy Shelby Williams and Roberto Franco. So they're tracking their way. I think they're in, I think Tennessee, last I heard. So, they're making their way, up to the expo as well. So just the who's who of not just, vendors, but cue makers, and just it's gonna be a fantastic event, and I'm really, really excited for it. You really get like in a vacuum out there, and it's its own little world for those whatever it is the week or so. But yeah, as soon as I land, I'm gonna go hit it, and it's gonna be some long days. But I just
Well,
got upgraded. And one more thing, thanks to Joey because he helped out a lot with upgrading my tech stuff, so that way we can try to have the same standard like we had out in Vegas. And I couldn't do it without you, buddy. So
hey,
even whenever you're not there, you're there. So
my pleasure, man. So let's talk about the news that leading up to that event that was big news, which is they completely switched the format of the professional event, right?
right, right,
And they went from a 64 player field. I think they were playing 10 ball, and now they're playing 9 ball. And this is an official matchroom points event, right?
right,
Moscone Cup points event. The format is races to 9. The final 16 go to 11, double elimination until the final 16. We're seeing that. Is that going to become the standard, Mike, in all these events where you're going to play down to a certain number and then it's going to be single elimination after that? And what are your thoughts on that in terms of is that good for the sport?
It's been that way, for a few events. The US Open has been doing it for years now. I could think of a few others. It's more it's more modern, and that much I like because the traditional double elimination, although I do love it, as someone who just loves watching pool, the double eliminations I can certainly appreciate because you really have to go and just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze to go and get through. But from a production standpoint and television and all that, they really have to figure out a way to make pool streamlined while still having, a taste of more of a purist when it comes to a longer race. So this is like the combination, I guess, of both. The only thing I'll say is that when I went a few years back, I was real surprised on how that format breaks up because they take one from the one loss and then one from the winners, and it got kind of gaffy, and I was real surprised because I've never seen an event happen like that before. So I'm interested to see how it's going to work going forward. Although I know this year they're going to keep that part of it the same. Um, I'm not assuming anything, but just off the top of my head. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's great. It was kind of last minute. They did take off and we'll talk with Emily about this, whenever we get her on. But they did go and remove the Kremlin Cup because of everything happening, around the world, and that was out of Russia. And then last minute they kind of just threw this in there. I know I've seen Alan go and comment on other posts saying they were hoping for a better turnout as far as pros, but it's last minute, man. And everyone's
What's
got
it
to have
looking
their.
like, Mike? Have you seen a list?
Yeah, I've seen the list. There's some decent names on there. Don't get me wrong. Like you still got Shaw and Oscar and Nick's going out there, and those are just a few off the top of my head. I mean, there's some like top names that are out there,
I
but of
mean,
course,
Shane Wolford has to be going, right? Like
yeah,
any American who's kind of in the running, right?
but it could have been. I mean, it could have been a lot better, I think, had it gone and been planned out longer,
Yeah.
more ahead of time. But this is great because years ago, whenever I went, a lot of the big names were gone in Gibraltar for the World Pool Masters that was going on at the same time. um, I like that there's promoters working together now. I'll say that. So, and them jumping on board, part of Team Matchroom's 9 ball thing going forward is, I think, going to be better for everyone, just in my opinion. So,
Yeah, let's
um,
bring the format back up again here. Looks like based on a full field of 128, which it seems like they might not get that, Mike. You think they'll get that full field?
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, 10K for first. It's not really one of these that's top heavy. It's like 10K, 8K, 7K, 6K, 5K, 4K, 3,500, 3,000. So it seems to be one of those tournaments where there's a real equitable payout across the board. Not a whole lot of difference between like first and third, for example,
Yeah.
$3,000 difference. And so I
I'm
think
just
that's a
curious
lot
because if
different.
yeah, I'm just curious, Joey, because if that's, I mean, it's bold. based off a full field, the last numbers I seen were somewhere around like half that. So I'm just
Okay.
curious how that'll be adjusted. But I'm again, I mean, they may have not updated the website or maybe some last minute signups, who knows? But either way, I think it's just going to be a great event. So
Yeah, well, if you're on the East Coast and you're a above average player, you're a top amateur player, I'd highly recommend you take a shot at that event. I've seen players get in that event who were kind of on the cusp and win a few matches and really get their name out there over the years. And like I said before, that event has just been one that I went to every single year for a couple
right.
decades. I saw some of the greats play there. I played in a charity pro-am there. Uh, I was on Johnny Archer's team. We are playing Rodney Morris's team. Playing all these different teams. So you really get a chance to get out there and interact and mingle with the top players. So I think it's a great opportunity for folks to get out there.
Right. And the pro event's just like one nugget of that whole experience, you know?
Oh
It's
yeah.
not even the like the main thing about it. Like there's so many things to go and do out there, so many vendors to go and talk to and check out their products. And I
Are
mean
they
it's
still getting 1,000 players in the Open Amateur?
I couldn't tell you with any kind of honesty to, just to
I know a guy who
be
took
real with you.
fifth one year in that.
Was he the same guy who drilled that shot down the rail with Shane when
Yeah,
all
same
50 people
guy.
were watching?
Same guy. Nailed it. Lost to a
High
guy
five,
from
buddy. High five, buddy.
oh,
Yeah.
lost to a guy from Pittsburgh, Bill McCullum, good player. But yeah, he beat me. But I thought I was going to win it. It was the year that Larry Price won it. He ended up winning that thing, and everybody was like, he kind of snuck in because he was a pro caliber player. I think he's no longer with us. Rest in peace, Larry Price. Good player from West Virginia. So let's see, Mike. Let's talk about the World Championship.
Well, Nick is saying that Federer and Christina will be there, and I hope they are, but I'm just curious because I know they weren't allowed to go and play in WPA sanctioned events, and if this is under the Matchroom umbrella, then I would guess this is a WPA sanctioned event. So I'm just that part of it makes me wonder. I hope they're there though, and
Yeah, I
Federer will
definitely
be
hope
a
they're
favorite in
there.
that event if
I
they're
know
playing.
Fedor right now is in first break in Northern Virginia playing in the Bob Stocks Memorial. And apparently my buddy Rick Glasscock said he's just blowing everybody away. He just beat Manny Chow like 11-3 or 4 or something.
I
And
like Manny a lot, man.
goose egg Matt Craw. So, yeah. Yeah, let's talk about the World Championship, Mike. So, obviously, what an event. I like this chart that you posted. I think you might have grabbed that from somebody else online because I saw it there first. But just a way for people to kind of keep track of their Fargo rate in a particular event, which doesn't mean a whole lot, right? Anybody can play 100 points higher, 100 points lower in an event. But man, Shane played at a 848.8 clip in that tournament. We know the caliber of players that he was playing against and just the way that he competed. Look at those four uh, uh, over 800 players that he played, and he's winning 11-8, 11-8, 11-7, 13-6. I mean, what a performance by Shane Van Boening.
It's pretty strong, like you said, to go and have um, that kind of number against that quality of players that you're going and sparring against. And yeah, I got it from a gentleman actually out of an Arizona group, as a matter of fact. So I sent him a PM and I was like, yo, let me
Oh, you
borrow this
asked
and
permission?
post it. Yeah, I got
Yeah, that's my buddy
I,
Carlos.
um and he was he was great about it. But yeah, man, it was pretty neat, I thought, and really shows how you're playing today, because there's a lot of guys in Fargo that have a Fargo rate where I'm like, and you're not playing anywhere near that speed right now. And then there's other guys where it's like, and you're playing way better than that right now. So I like
Yeah.
seeing the in the moment kind of stats like this. So that part of it I really appreciated, because and Shane, and we talked about this a lot last week with Pinoza, but Shane really had just a brutal draw, man. I mean, he was beating Kazakis, Chang, Kopinyi, of course, the epic comeback against Mika Immonen.
I mean, but
And then
after that comeback, Mike, it just seemed destined, right? After that match, it just seemed like there was no way Shane wasn't going to win it. And I remember watching on video after that match with Mika ended, he's packing up his gear and then he goes and sits back in the chair and just kind of like reclines back a little. and it was almost like he was processing what just happened, and then he really came back and won that match. And I said, man, he's going to be tough to deal with from here. And sure enough, he goes and plays some of his best pool after that match, I thought.
It's pretty special, and even all these days later, it's still pretty special to go and talk about it. Because he was one of the guys that everyone wanted to see get that monkey off his back. To go and say, because Shane always, there's a lot of people online that would go and say, "Oh, Shane's a world champion. Shane's a world champion," but he wasn't. Not until last week, and that's just facts. And now he is, and nobody can ever go and take that away from him. And it's like after all these years, after all those titles, and such an accomplished resume, which was fantastic in its own right. But now to go and say you did it, and he did it in a pretty special manner because the comeback, beating Ko, who he lost to before, beating Albin, who he lost to before in another final, beating Chang Junlin, who's got a lot of history with. And we talked about, Chang with him before in a couple interviews and just how much respect he has for him. Beating Kazakis, who, speaking of goose eggs, he gave Shane a goose egg there at the World Pool Masters not too long ago. So it was very, very poetic. As a fan first of the sport, I really got a lot of joy in seeing that. I really, really did. And it was amazing the amount of players that showed Shane some love and respect and
Yeah,
congratulations. And
I
I'm
noticed
sure there
that.
was a I'm sure there was a ton more in his inbox.
Yeah. And one thing that really struck me was Shane can be, I think, the best at any of the disciplines if he really focuses on it, right? If he
If he wants
focused,
to.
yeah, if he focused on straight pull, he'd probably be right, taking a shot at Jason's record. If he focused on one pocket, he'd probably be right up there at the top. But for a long time now, his 10 ball break has just been so amazing. And, he comes through and he wins the 9 ball world championship after not really performing at the 10 ball world championship. But man, let's talk a second about Albin Ocean. Is he the best 9 ball player in the world?
I think he's the best tournament 9 ball player in the world. I want to just preface it by saying that because I, you know, it depends on how you're going and keeping score. If you think about just from the professional side of the game and 9 ball, Albin's at the top of that list right now.
Yeah.
To have the success that he's had over the last 18 months, and you can go and say, if you want to discredit it you can go and say, well, last year's field was a little light. COVID was still going on, all these things. But you know what? He backed it and jacked it. He got to the finals and won the PLP event again. He's in the final of another world championship where it was extremely, extremely deep, and we saw that from the very beginning. Just the monster matchups that were occurring. I mean, hell, right out of the bat, we had Josh Filler and Chris Melling going battle it out. So to go and do what he did is nothing short of just incredible. And um, he's only in his early 30s, man. Like he still has a good 15 years ahead of him that he can go and really perform great at. Um, his mental focus and how strong he is up here is something to be marveled.
Hmm.
Um, and that's not even including the amount of like the skill set that he has. I never really see Albin go and take the wrong shot. It's incredible.
Yeah, he stays within himself. You never see him take a flyer, like you said, and you never see him really get outside his fundamentals. He'll
No.
miss a ball here and there, but it's not because he like, did something I would do. It's always he just happened to miss a tough shot or it's on tight equipment or whatever. But I was really impressed with the way he handled that defeat. It's such a classy post about
Oh,
Shane. I commented on it, and when we first started doing this show, and I'm talking about the online stuff, pool player podcast, a couple years ago. I remember thinking, who's my favorite pool player? And you kind of have to think about that a little bit because there's so many that you could choose from. And I remember thinking, I think Albin's my favorite pool player. He's just got that calm demeanor. He stays within himself. He plays beautifully, and I'm like, what a great player. And then I saw him in the championship league pool 2 years ago, and he was a fussy mess. He wins it, but he's like fussing and all this stuff. And I was like, well, maybe he's not my favorite player anymore. But it
you
kind of grew on
bandwagon.
me, and I'm like, I liked that when I saw that, and I had time to process it because I'm like, that shows he's a human, right? He's not a robot. he has struggles with his mental game and his emotions like everyone else, but he manages to control that. You could easily see him flying off the handle because he sets his self to a very high standard. But his you cannot argue with his results. I mean, his results over the last couple years have just been unbelievable, unbelievable. So hats off to him for a great runner-up finish, and to make it through that event. We saw numerous posts from great players in that tournament that was like, "Hey, this format was just tough to fade." I'm going into a match. I'm feeling great. I'm
I
playing
love the
great.
winter
A
break.
guy broke and ran six on me, and I played a bad safe, and then I really didn't get any more opportunities. And so for
But
Albin to fade that throughout the whole tournament and get back to the finals, just great performance.
it really makes it an opportunity for special things to go and happen though, because Shane never comes back with alternate break ever. I mean, you can go and argue he never gets in that hole with alternate break, and that'd be fair. But you really have these special moments that can be created because of winter break and putting packages together. We saw Al Youssef go and come back on Max Lechner. I mean, the list just goes on and on as far as comebacks because of the format, and you're never really done until you cross the finish line. There was a couple of matches leading into the final, where I thought Shane barely scraped by. 11 nines, 11 eights, where he had someone just nipping at his heels, and I thought, well, is he going to be able to stand
God,
up again
you're
against
so
Albin?
critical, Mike.
Yeah, well,
He's
I mean,
beating the best players. He's beating
no, I know,
Co
but it's like,
11-8.
but you see, it's like I've seen so many times in sports where it's like if you go and have these emotional wins, it's easy to go and
Let down.
have the letdown right afterwards. And you can, I mean, I've seen it in basketball where it's like you can go and have Duke and North Carolina go and battle it out, and then they get a win. North Carolina's going and facing like Mississippi State the next one, who they're supposed to crush by 16 and end up losing because it's a letdown game,
You know what
and
I
it
think
happens
helped
in most
him?
sports.
You know what I think helped Shane after that emotional match with Mika? It was nothing but killers from there on. It wasn't like he was playing somebody that would be a huge upset if they beat him. So he knew he had to bring it. I know exactly what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Even like a player like Oliver Skolnacki or something, or somebody like that who's a great player, but
He
you
should
don't
have beaten Alex, I thought.
yeah, but you don't expect them to kind of knock off Shane like what happened last year. And so, that I think for Shane, it's like, oh, I got by this match with Mika, but now it's just ultimate killers from here. And he just stepped up and rose to the occasion. There wasn't an opportunity for that letdown match against somebody that he was supposed to beat, so to speak.
You know what? The one thing that I really remember from that final is, going back to Albin, is just the the class he had after it was done with, because it'd be real easy to be on tilt and kind of show your frustration and your anger and your annoyance on your sleeve, because that's probably what I would do. Um, but he just stood up, he started clapping, you saw a smile on his face, because I think, if you're not gonna win, everybody else wanted to see Shane go and do it. It was Shane going and yelling, yes, when he got on the 8 ball or the 9 ball, whatever it was, or even whenever, because I'm messaging Pinozo, because of course you never, responded that whole week. But
I was
anyway,
busy.
um,
I was getting my hair done. See, I'm letting it grow
but
out a little.
even when I'm messaging Pinozo, like I never really felt comfortable because I was rooting hard, and I never really felt comfortable until it was something like maybe 10-6, somewhere around there. So it was stressful, but it was wonderful. And yeah, I mean, it was such a great event. There's only 2 times a year that we really get to see a world championship. And this was, the 9 ball is a pretty special thing with a lot of history. So to see Shane finally go and do it, look out, because he may go and just start knocking everybody down after this.
So, Mike, not many people maybe know this about you, although you've revealed it lately in some of your posts and stuff. You're an emotional guy. I'm kind of an emotional guy too. And I'm wondering if you've ever seen like the behind the scenes of UFC or, boxing, things like that. There's times where the competitors come back to the locker room and they just can't contain their emotion, whether they won or lost. It's just like they bawl like a baby. I'm wondering, do you think pool players do that too? I've never been
I
at that high of a level. I mean, I've wanted to cry after some matches, but do you think like maybe Shane got to his hotel room that night or even Albin and just like just let it all out? Well, I guess we saw that out of
I don't
Carlo last year
I
at
don't
the
I don't want to. Yeah, 100%, without a doubt. And I got friends of mine who are good personal friends with Shane, who are like telling me about the emotional side of it from him and how much it really meant to him. I mean, it's great to go and say all these things beforehand, like, "Oh, you know, if I never win one, it's fine," or whatever.
Yeah, he wanted one.
It was special. It was special for me as a fan and a lot of other fans that I knew. I mean, I was emotional watching it. So how can you not get emotional after you were the one living it? Like you lived that your entire life to go and finally get to that point. How can you not just go and let it out? And yeah, Carlos is a great example. There's a lot of players that really just wear it on their sleeve, and maybe some shy away from it because they don't want to be seen as vulnerable on, in front of people, but it really makes people identify with you more
Yeah.
and have that love for you, and will go and follow you. Um, Tournaments are hard to win, Joey, and really that's what makes what Albin's done just that much more incredible because of his consistency, even like despite the fact that it's such a difficult field. So, um, yeah, I'm looking forward to next year already, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be there.
Well, during that event, there was also a big event going on in Las Vegas. So let's pull up this graphic here. Looks like we have 4 new U.S. Open champions in 4 different disciplines. And you want to take us through those, Mike?
Yeah, let me just bring it up here real quick. So I know Carlo won the U.S. Open
8 ball.
eight ball. Federer won the 10 ball.
Yep.
Um, let's see here. The one pocket was won by my man Tony. You can see him in
Yep.
there in the upper left, and then Scott, man, Scott won the banks, which is pretty strong. And I'll be 100% honest. I didn't watch a whole lot of this. I did watch the final with Tony in the one pocket. That was pretty awesome. I did not watch any of the 8 ball or the 10 ball. But what I did see though was Scott go and play in that banks final against Carlo, and that was just a heavyweight fight. Scott really grinded it out. He was doing a lot of moving.
That's what I
And
heard. I heard he won that because of his cue ball, really. Like, he made some great
yeah,
banks, obviously, but his cue ball was exceptional. He was, I mean, that game, the strategy of that game is so foreign to me. I didn't grow up in Kentucky. I didn't play a lot of banks. So for me, it's, oh, just bank the balls in. Sure, I'll try to bank balls in. But when you
mhm,
get somebody who really knows how to move like Scott and knows how to
mhm.
bank, I mean, he could, you never know.
It,
And if you think about it, he's getting up in his career, right? We know
right.
that about Scott. He's had some business ventures and other things and fishes a lot, and he's getting up in his career. This might turn out to be his game of choice moving forward. He might become the new, who's the guy? Oh shoot, it's Scott's
Well,
good friend from
yeah,
Kentucky.
I was gonna say he's good friends with Brumback.
Yeah,
So it's
Brumback.
kind
He
of,
might be the new Brumback.
I tell you what, man, like it was, if you can appreciate moving and strategy and the chess and be able to see it and know like, oh, this is why he did that. Like that finals match against Carlo was beautiful. I don't know how else to go and put it. I love good moving. I love, when guys are putting each other in tight spots and really like giving you little nuggets to go and see if you're going to go and bite, and if they do and how much are they going to sell out. I mean, it was just Scott used a lot of tools, and on paper Carlo would have been, a favorite because he's just a monster, right? In general, he's a world champion. He's just a killer and all around. Like, and I was surprised that Scott got there, to be perfectly honest with you. But boy, did he deliver. And he showed just a ton of class, a ton of heart, a ton of everything, man. He was just phenomenal in that
I was
final.
shocked that Scott got there because it seemed like maybe a day or two before that tournament started, he had posted about how disappointed he was in his preparation leading up to the one pocket and leading
Yeah,
up to the other
I saw that.
events. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess he's kind of writing this one off and he'll go back to the drawing board and practice for the next event. But no, he just decides to win the banks.
So sick, dude. It's so sick. And he, it wasn't like Carlo didn't give it to him. Scott Scott earned it. That was the part that was incredible. When Tony goes and wins it, he earns it, and that was a great final as well that I saw. All the players. I mean, you know, I talked to. It really was a solid field because a lot of the Filipinos stayed back that weren't at the World Championships, but they were there in
Yeah, it
Vegas
wasn't
playing it. So
cupcakes. Let's
no, no,
just
no,
get
no,
that
no.
straight. It was not
Yeah,
if you look at the talent that was in Europe, a lot of people might have thought, "Oh, this is just a easy cupcake tournament." It was not cupcakes. And then you had the specialists that came in, who were just great bankers, like Mike DeLauder, my friend from Florida. He was out there. I'm sure my
Justin
buddy from
Hall was there
Arizona,
for
Chris
the
Lulick,
one
was out
pocket.
there. Yeah, like good shortstop bank talent that you had to come with at every match.
What is that
So
question? What would I put the line at? Is that what there's? It's hard to see
Let's
because
see.
the let me see here. Hold on,
Oh, hold on. I'll see.
because
Let's see.
it's possible the finals. It's possible the finals will be Federer versus Wolford at first break. What would you put the line at?
What's the race?
Um,
What's the race, Rick
yeah,
Glasscock? Is it
it depends
11?
on the race and the format. What are they playing? Template, one on the spot, nine on the spot.
Yeah, Mike needs details to handicap this one for
De-
you.
and the size pockets. Yeah, details make the game, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's. I think it's a
that's
good. Let me see here. Oh, race to
11.
11.
Okay.
Okay, so just off of that, and I mean, winter break versus alternate break makes a difference, but Shane needs at least probably two or three going to
They're
11.
playing 9 ball, I believe, because I was watching for a little while and I saw Manny play carom on the 9. So
We got to get
nine
Manny on 'cause I like Manny
nine
a
on
lot,
oh
man.
9 on the spot template, and they're playing with that 3-point rule.
Ooh,
I
well,
saw
that
Manny broke 2 balls in and fouled on the break.
so sick. Um, yeah, I mean that would definitely favor Federer because they play that nine on the spot more in Europe. Um,
Home
yeah,
field advantage for Wolford. It's alternate break. Home
yeah.
field advantage being from Virginia. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of fans there pulling for him.
Still probably needs he probably at least needs two then, given its alternate break. So that's what I would say.
I'll take
But I
favor.
yeah, I'd say I'd rather lay it than go and take it myself. So not.
There you go. That's a professional handicapper from
Hey,
Molina.
but
Mike,
look,
guys. You got to hear it first.
if there's a stream, send me the link because I'd love to go
There
and
is
watch it and share it. So
TTMD. You can check out the stream.
what is
You
it
can
on
pull it.
YouTube or something or what?
They're on
Hook
Facebook.
somebody up, Joey. I mean, golly, man, can you send me a PM with the link?
Hey, you know what? You're always posting stuff from like Thailand and Philippines, and I'm like, where'd you get this? And you're like, oh, don't worry about it. So TTMD, I believe, on Facebook.
Rick, send me a PM, my man, will you?
uh, Rick's my buddy, man. All right, what else we got to talk about? So we talked about the U.S. Opens, we talked about the World Championship, we talked about the Super Billiards
Uh,
Expo. Oh, here's
on
one.
the note of the U.S. Open, hold
Oh,
on real quick. The U.S. Open got the U.S. Open 9 ball got sold out in like
oh
a
yeah,
day,
where's
man.
that? Is that this?
There it is. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll come.
you know, there's a lot of people that got very fortunate in that tournament because I was really considering going and I didn't get a chance to sign up. So I was planning on knocking off at least 1 or 2 champions in that thing. So
So you're saying they got lucky because you didn't show up. Is that what I'm hearing?
yeah, I got shut out. I got shut out.
Okay. They try to put you on ice, huh?
Let's talk about that, Mike. Let's talk about that real quick because I've seen a little bit of disappointment with people not getting into some of these matchroom events. Actually, it's been 2 years in a row, I think. Or no, the UK Open and now the US Open, just with, at the time when it goes live to be able to get your entry fee in, it just seems like they're selling out so fast. What are your thoughts? Is there a better way
I
to
guess
handle that?
from what standpoint are we talking about? Are we talking about from the professionals side
Yeah,
of it? Because if we are, have some responsibility and take accountability, plain and simple in my book. If they're letting you know ahead of time when it's going to go and open, then be prepared to go and sign up at that time. I don't want to hear any complaining, oh, well, I didn't get in or that's not fair. Now, the other side of it, some people are saying, well, amateurs shouldn't be allowed to go and play in a professional event. I get it, but it's an open event. So if somebody else can set a reminder, then you ought to be able to as well. And there's very few people who I think have that cachet in the world
nice
to go
word.
and be able to go and say, hey, I didn't make it. Can I get a spot? Because don't get me wrong, they do hold back a few spots for some exceptions. Players they're hoping that maybe can't get in right now, but who knows how it'll be in October. So I know they do have a waiting list as well. But like some of these guys that just don't go and put on an alarm clock, like, yo, I don't want to hear it, man. If you want to do this for a living and this is what you're doing, then be prepared to go and sign up for it at the time. You know, I don't know
Yeah.
what else to go and say with it, man.
I wonder how many of those spots they do hold. Because if you think about it from Matchroom's perspective, you want the field to be as tough as it can be. Shoot, I'd hold 96 spots
Out of
if it were me.
128? What
Yeah.
do you mean?
Well, that way I assure that we're getting
You're
pros
holding
in.
you're holding out 3/4 of the spots back? No. No, hell
Listen,
no.
I love all pool players. I'm an equal opportunity lover of pool players, right? But I do not want to see two guys my speed playing in the U.S. Open and someone like Carlo Biato getting left out.
Well, Carlo has that cachet. So I'll
All
put it
right.
like that. You
Well,
know,
well, like the two guys I just flashed up that we're going to talk about their match, Chris Reinhold and Shane Mcminn. I don't want to see those guys getting left out for somebody that plays my speed either.
right, but, like, if they're just being lazy, why should they get rewarded? And I'm not saying, like, them specifically because 'cause we're just talking hypotheticals here, but it's like you have to be able to, manage your career, If you're supposed to be if as a professional pool player, you should be playing tournaments. So, if that's the window you have to go and sign up, then you need to be an adult and go and sign up at that time, For me, it's not it's pretty black and white. But I don't know the exact number, but I know they hold some spots back just in case. So,
Well,
um,
them or their handlers. The folks that are kind of helping them along, getting them to tournaments.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
kind of need to be
Whichever
on the
they're
lookout for that type of thing.
yeah.
Greg Prendergast is in here talking about we need to get some 1PKT damn hoodies. We're working on that, Greg. In fact, the next thing coming out are polos. So that shouldn't be too long from now. We actually switched up the way we're doing things with 1PKT, and you'll start seeing a lot more stuff, a lot different variety of things coming out a lot quicker, but smaller quantities. So when we bring them out, you're gonna have to act fast. So
Yeah,
we will
and
give
on
you
the
a heads up
hoodies,
on that.
we were close to already having them done and ready to go and rock and roll, but then we realized it's spring break and then summer coming up, so let's put it on the shelf for a minute, and we'll have them out though, getting ready for the winter. So,
It kind of made us rethink our whole strategy, actually. So we were getting stuff from
mhm.
overseas. It was taking a while to get it shipped. It was getting more costly, and we decided to make a decision to get stuff quicker and get it out to you guys. So hang tight. We'll get it out to you. But we thank you for the support, Greg. Appreciate that,
For sure.
Greg with two G's.
He always send me a PM too. When are those damn hoodies coming in?
Yeah, I always wonder about the name Greg with two G's, like how they ever came up with. Like they didn't
Yeah,
think one G was enough.
it's almost as
Greg.
weird. It's almost as weird as a guy with two first names.
Oh, come on. I have three first names. A lot of people don't know my real name is Michael. Michael
Yeah, I
Joseph
know.
Ryan the fourth. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know.
if the redhead didn't make you weird enough, then you
You
got
know
crazy
you're on
shit.
my hotel bill, so you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right, what else we got, Mike? Let's talk about this big matchup coming up. I remember I was commentating the match in Denver, Colorado, actually Aurora, Colorado, at Piazza's when Chris, at the time Robinson, now Reinhold, took on Danny Olson, and Danny just had his way with Chris for 3 days, broke like amazing. We were talking after that match about Moscone consideration, Danny Olson kind of being the future of pool in the U.S. Didn't come together the way I think anybody was hoping. Uh, Chris tells me right after that match, I will not be playing a long race set of 10 ball ever again. Exact words. And I actually asked him about that out in Vegas. I was like, you told me you would never play a long race 10 ball set again. And here I see you're playing Shane Mcminn. So what's up? What's up with this match, Mike?
Well, I think it got started because of Tracy interviewing Shane Mcminn and Tracy from Inside Pool Magazine. And yeah, in so many words, Shane was like, "I'll swim through a river of you know what to go and to go and play Chris." And Chris took exception to that, and rightfully so, and said he'd gladly go and accommodate. Um, it's I like Chris in that matchup. I just do, even though in long races his history is not good at
But
all.
have you seen McMinn lately? He's getting into fighting shape. He's taking this like Rocky Four and he's in Siberia working out. I mean, he's dropped, I don't know, dozens of pounds. He's looking good. He's looking like he's in
He
fighting
is, and
shape.
that's fantastic. But that's a
Guy
lot
can
of time
play too. I mean, we're not
that's a
talking
lot of
about
time you can
a
be
scrub.
spending in the pool room as well, So, playing with the triangle rack is gonna make things interesting. Um, I don't know, man. I keep on going back and forth on it, to be completely honest with you. So, like I liked Chris going into it. I
I
liked him
don't
up until a
believe
couple weeks
that for a
ago,
minute.
and then I started getting a few messages, and I'm like, well, maybe I don't like Chris a whole lot. So, um,
Just
but
so
I
the
think it's gonna.
audience knows. Just so the audience knows. When it's before the match and I ask Molina his opinion, he's a little guarded, right? He's still got to get action down. So just know that. Just know that. So you got to pick up. You got to read between the lines here, and I'm reading between the lines, and I know who you like in this match.
Mhm. Mm.
I know.
Um, uh,
Easy. It's a family show. It's a family program.
how do you mean, man? I guess I'm,
You like Reinhold. You like Reinhold for sure. And I think you like
yeah,
him for the same reason I like him, which is the break of Chris Reinhold today is nothing like it was when he played Danny Olson. He's
that
breaking
is
10 ball.
that is
He
fact.
actually racked a few racks right in front of us on the off the rail table right in Vegas. And he broke a few racks of 10 ball, and the balls were just exploding, kind of like what Danny did to him. And
Easy.
so he's figured something out. He's figured something out with that break, and that could be the difference in this match.
I remember when I remember when uh after the Danny match, and me and Chris chat all the time, you know, in Messenger. I'll hit him up here there. And anyway, he messaged me one day and he said, "I got it." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I got the break. I figured it out. You know, I finally got it." And I was like, "Ah, right, dude. Okay." Every pool player says they got the best break, like every one of them. And I saw it, and I was a believer. And I saw him in Derby, and I was a believer. Shane Wolford became a believer at Derby as well. But I think Shane wants to go and play either one of them, the winner and the loser, which I would love to see. Um, it's a little interesting for me from the standpoint of this is the same time as Derby, and if these guys want to be in consideration for the Mosconi Cup, they are not going. They're going to miss out on
You mean
potential
Super
points.
Billiards?
Right? Yeah, yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah. So uh, they're going to go and miss out on the possibility of getting points, which is okay saying that, you know, in April, but how's it going to be come November if it's close, you know?
All
So,
right, so tell you what, we got a bunch of people in here right now. You guys have been awesome. The numbers have been steady. I want to hear who you like in that match, Chris Reinhold or Shane Mcminn. Put it in the chat, and while you do, I'm going to put Molina Mike on the spot, and we're going to ask for a betting line on that match. What do you think, Molina?
oh, I think it's pretty even. I mean, from a betting standpoint, I don't think you can spot either one of them games. Like, I don't know how to justify spotting either one of them games. I think a lot of people going into it like Shane. And Shane and Danny did play a match. I want to say last year, maybe 18 months ish, somewhere on there. Um, and Danny won, and I was the only one on earth that liked Danny Olson besides Danny's backer in that
Well,
match.
Shane looked really good in the beginning of that match. I think Danny came from behind. I remember that was
No,
being
no, no,
streamed
no.
by.
It was the opposite. Danny was up, Shane came back, and then Danny closed him out.
Really?
I
I'm
think.
I'm remembering that completely opposite. At
Or
one
maybe
point,
you're
I
right.
turned
Maybe
it
you're right.
off. At one point, I turned it off thinking, "Oh, Shane's gonna win this one," and then I found out later that Danny won it, but I know Mike DeMarco, our buddy up in New England, would
Yeah.
know. He streamed that match with Ship the
Hmm.
Cash and, Chad Shoulders.
Yeah, I watched a lot of it. I was at my buddy's house playing some pool, watching that match, and it was fantastic. But there's a lot of money, and it's all pride and gambling, which is makes for a great match, you know. So both of them want to win. I think both sides think that they're stealing, is what I think. I think Chris's side think that, and I think Shane's side thinks that as well. So when you have that combination, along with some good guys in your corner, and plus, listen, they're not.
Now that it's 60K in the middle now, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's a lot more on the rail. But like these guys are human. They're not the Fetters and Dennises and Shanes of the world where it's just they're running out from everywhere and it's an automatic like, you know, you're gonna watch and you're gonna be entertained. So and there's gonna
What's a
be some
pocket
misses.
size, Mike? Do you know?
I think it's standard.
Standard pocket.
Yeah. As far as I
Yeah.
know. But we will I messaged Chris just right before we came on, so we're gonna try to have him on Monday. So I don't know if Joey's gonna join us because he's hard to go and tie down. But
In the air Monday.
we will try. In the evening, buddy. Make some time.
Yeah.
Make
Well,
some
hey
time.
guys, we mentioned this earlier. Before we sign off today, I want to mention it again. We now have a Twitter account, and it's at Doggin It Show. So at Doggin It Show. I know some of you guys have Twitter, so go ahead and follow that Twitter account. Right now, we still have 3 followers. We're trying to get up to 5. Can we get 5 followers?
Yo,
Can
that
we
just
get 2
makes
more?
me sad, man. How the hell you got don't even promote it while you got 3 followers,
No,
man.
no. We
Like just
just
post that
created it.
somewhere else and see
Come
and
on,
then
man.
up
We
it.
just
Let's
created
not
it.
talk about it when we
No,
got
but
3.
look, Mike, if you promise
Is one of them
that
you? Is one of the
yes, of
followers Joey
course.
Ryan?
Well,
Oh.
actually, I think I followed from 3 different Twitter accounts. Hey, but
That's funny.
if you promise people that you'll be giving live updates during the day, quick little tidbits here and there on Twitter, I guarantee we can get those followers up. Actually, let me come over here and refresh. We might have more followers. No, we still have 3.
Still 3. This is sad.
Yeah, we actually had 1 viewer at one point, and they chose not to follow.
Mm.
So yeah, guys, check us out on Twitter. We're gonna be streaming these to Twitter. Mike's gonna be streaming all kinds of stuff to Twitter. It's gonna be a lot of fun, man. And
Yeah,
you
we got a
guys
lot
know
of
we
stuff
like to have
coming up.
fun.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up. Expo, a bunch of interviews lined up in the next few days, week, whatever. And yeah, just keep your notifications on whatever page or whatever format, and follow all of them, because we're gonna try to have a ton of stuff coming up. So
Yeah,
I'm real pumped, Joey. I really am.
me too. And it's always a pleasure working with you, Mike. What people didn't get to see out there in Vegas, they see us go live, they see us do interviews, they see us having fun and picking on each other a little bit. But I got to tell you, man, I'd rather partner with nobody else in the world than you. There were days where I didn't want to get out of bed, and you're like, "Come on, man, we got to go." You know, your engine, your motor is high, and it's all about the love of this sport. And for that, I appreciate you, brother.
Well, I couldn't do it without you, buddy, because you helped me out on so many different aspects and got my back whenever I don't know I need my back being got. And it's always appreciated. And we make a
All
good
these
team,
people that
man.
you blocked, all these people that you blocked are messaging me all the time, like, "How are you friends with this guy?" And I'm like, "What? He's cool with me. I don't know." And that one time I had to block one person, I called you and I had to have an intervention. I was like, "Mike, I just feel terrible. I blocked this one guy," and you're like, "I'm a pro at blocking."
Dude, listen, I give out blocks like I'm Oprah, son. You know, you get a
Oh.
block and you get a block and everyone gets a block. I got no shame in it. I don't have time for nonsense. I don't like negativity. It's already frustrating enough at times, to go and do this and make ourselves vulnerable and put ourselves out there, and it can be uncomfortable at times. But and it's not always popular to have an opinion about things. So but we do it where everyone can see it's all with love, and I try to do it as respectfully as we can.
Yeah,
Of course,
man. Sometimes we ask for picks and we get 2. So we asked all 40 people watching across the channels, like, "Hey, who do you guys like in this Chris Shane match?" And the only 2, maybe we can give them the
Kamui
thing we
vouchers.
yeah, the Kamui vouchers, one to Monique Greer and one to Greg Saylor, and it's Greg with 1 G, Greg Saylor. Can we write those down? And guys, Monique or Greg, send us a message, either Mike or I, on Facebook, and we will get you guys a Kamui voucher. We got a bunch of those to give away, and you guys actually answered our question, so thank you. That'll teach the rest of them.
Yeah.
That'll teach
Okay.
them.
Send me a PM. If I don't get it out on Monday, then I probably won't be able to get it out until I get back from Super Billiards Expo. But I do have
You'll
to go to the post office on Monday, so I
you'll
should
get your
be able
Kamui.
to.
Yeah, you'll get your Kamui tip by 2026. We promise.
I'll take the under.
Hey, we're gonna sign off, but Mike, listen, I'm gonna go live again in a few more minutes, and that's just gonna be on Pool Player Podcast YouTube, and it's gonna
Okay.
be to announce the winner of the Tom Worth book giveaway. So,
Nice.
can you join me for that, Mike?
Yep, buddy. You got it.
Just for fun? Okay.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. We will be really soon. We'll be coming live from Super Billiards Expo with Mike being our eyes and ears out there. So stay tuned.